is up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today we are talking about the Washington Redskins 2020 draft. This is their draft review. I'm going to go in detail on everything I thought about this draft. And let's get started right away with some of the guidelines that I have coming into every draft for every team. And first of all, what was the plan? And for the Washington Redskins, the plan was to attack offensive line and wide receiver. So they do attack that position very well. They add playmakers on the offensive side of the ball along with an offensive line help to help their young quarterback develop as a passer and as a complete quarterback in the NFL. And with that plan, it kind of gives away my next two guidelines. Guideline 2 being, did you add an offensive lineman within the first 4 rounds of the draft? Yes, they did. They added an offensive lineman in the 4th and 5th round. And then, of course, did you attack the strength of the draft, which was wide receiver in this case? And yes, as I said, they did it. They did add 2 wide receivers, one in the 2nd round who maybe could be considered a running back wide receiver hybrid, and then another one in the 4th round as well. But all right, guys, let's get to the actual draft picks. I do like to talk about all the picks that a team makes within the first 3 rounds because I think that's where you're getting the difference makers in the draft right away. But first of all, we do have to talk about Chase Young out of Ohio State, defensive end, superstar type of player. At the number 2 pick overall, they get a slam dunk, best player in the draft, probably easily the best defensive player in the draft, and it's just one of those home run picks. Is there anything else to say? Has the power, has the technique, has incredible athleticism, incredible physical traits that you can't teach. Just a complete player, and really didn't play a whole lot in college, so there's a lot of tread on the tires. You can't blame the Washington Redskins. Got a home run pick here with Chase Young at number 2 overall, and you just can't blame them for making that decision. As far as their 2nd round pick, they traded it last year in a trade up to land Montez Sweat in the 1st round. They traded back into the back of the 1st round to land Montez Sweat, another defensive lineman. So they ended up trading their 2nd round pick this year to the Colts to do that. So they don't have a 2nd round pick. So moving on to the 3rd round with number 66 overall, they do take Antonio Gibson, wide receiver, running back hybrid out of Memphis. This is a guy who's going to be kind of a utility knife. He could be used in kind of the same way Christian McCaffrey. He could be like a Christian McCaffrey light type of player who can play wide receiver. He can play in the slot. He has that 4.39 speed, which means he can be used in a variety of different ways all over the field. And this is just another one of those guys that comes out of Memphis that can do a lot of different things very well. I don't know where they want to play him. I've heard that they want to put him at running back, which I would be a little bit surprised about, just as far as the running back room that the Redskins already had. Investing a pretty high pick in Darius Geis out of LSU in 2018, who has been hurt but has shown promise when he's actually on the field and healthy. And then of course the ageless wonder and Adrian Peterson. So the fact that they add Antonio Gibson here to be another running back weapon, maybe that's what they want to do. It would make a lot of sense to me as well if they want to put him as the slot receiver, especially considering they did draft a go up and get it type of receiver in Antonio Gaudy Golden out of Liberty. This is just a long, lengthy type of guy who's going to be that go up and get it 50-50 ball type of receiver. They got him in the 4th round. They obviously have McLaurin, the speedster out of Ohio State last year, and then now you could have that Antonio Gibson type of slot guy to really fill out that receiver core. That would make more sense to me than putting him at running back. But again, I mean, if they're looking at maybe a Christian McCaffrey light, that makes sense as well, because it's a guy who can catch the ball really well. He can run real fast, and I think he can run between the tackles as well. So just whatever Ron Rivera wants to do with him, I think he can be used all over the field, and he's just one of those utility knife players that's going to be used in a variety of different ways. I really believe that. As far as draft day trades, this is where I kind of have to shit on the Redskins draft a little bit. They absolutely botched the Trent Williams trade. They did. They ended up sending Trent Trent Williams to the 49ers for a 3rd round pick in next year's draft and a 5th round pick this year. That is a steal for the 49ers. For a player who, I mean, there were rumors that teams were offering 1st round pick for him at the trade deadline last year. The Redskins don't pull the trigger then, and now they pretty much get what, a maybe starter next year and a developmental piece in the 5th round this year. I mean, there's just the value for that is just insane. The fact that that apparently there wasn't a team that was willing to send a 2nd round pick this year for Trent Williams, that is very surprising to me, and just frankly, I don't believe it. I don't believe that was not the case. I believe that the Redskins probably had deals on the table or probably could have made a deal. Like the Dolphins. They had 2 2nd-round picks. You're telling me they wouldn't have been willing to send one away for a top-end tackle? No, there's no way that they wouldn't have done that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, another team that had a lot of assets. You're telling me they wouldn't have sent a 1st-round pick they wouldn't have sent a 2nd or a 3rd and a 4th or something along those lines for a top-end player? I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that they couldn't find trade partners. And there are rumors that teams like the Vikings probably offered more and were turned down by the Redskins for them to send him to the 49ers instead, which just doesn't make sense to me because the 49ers are not a team that you're not sending this guy off to fail with at the 49ers. No, the 49ers are going to be a successful team for a long time as long as Kyle Shanahan and that offense is put together. So I mean, it just does not make sense to me from any standpoint. I don't get it. I know there was more value here to be had. I know there was teams that were willing to give up more assets than a 5th and a 3rd for an all-star tackle. Yes, you have to pay him. I don't care. There are teams that could afford him. Like I said, the Dolphins and Jaguars could absolutely afford this type of player. And he ends up going to the 49ers for a 3rd and a 5th. Now, 49ers, bravo. You got a star. You were able to give up limited assets to do that. That's awesome. As far as the rest of the NFL, either not being able to get a deal done or the Redskins just botching this deal altogether, whatever happened, there's no way I'll ever be able to know unless news breaks, which I would be very surprised if it does. Whatever happened, it's very concerning to me from the front office standpoint, but I've said that for a long time with the Washington Redskins. I do believe as long as Dan Snyder is in there calling the shots for the Redskins, I have a hard time believing they're not going to continue to make moves like this. Just these bizarre head-scratching type of moves that just don't make any sense to me as a fan, as somebody who follows the sport very, very closely, and as somebody who I would say I have a pretty good understanding of assets and how players are valued by NFL teams based on the amount of work that I do studying stuff like this. Just does not make sense to me at any level. But with all that being said, let me get to my closing thoughts. My favorite move for this Washington Redskins draft was not overthinking Chase Young. There were rumors that the Washington Redskins were going to consider Tua Tagovailoa here at number 2 overall. They didn't. They ended up taking Chase Young. I think that was the right decision. Don't take a chance on the injuries with Tua. The Dolphins had to because they needed a quarterback. But man, they get an absolute stud here at number 2 overall. And it's just the exact same thing that happened with the 49ers last year. Sitting there at number 2, and the team in front of them values a quarterback higher, and they get the best player in the draft because of it. So hopefully the Washington Redskins can have that same kind of meteoric rise that the 49ers had, although I don't expect it. Getting a player like Chase Young, I think he's good for a couple wins each year. That's the type of talent that they added their team this year with Chase Young. And as far as my least favorite move, they absolutely botched the Trent Williams trade, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I already talked at length why I think they did that and why I don't understand that trade from any perspective, so we'll just leave it alone there. As far as my biggest surprise, there really wasn't a huge surprise for me. The fact that they valued wide receiver so highly was a little bit surprising, but again, this was a good wide receiver class, so adding weapons in the 3rd and 4th round, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that they probably had bigger needs, but as far as the best players on the field or on the board, they were probably wide receiver because that was the deepest position. So I don't have a problem with that at all. A little bit surprising to me, but not a huge deal in my opinion. But all right, guys, all in all, I am going to give this draft grade a B-. I really struggled between giving it a C+ and a B-. I think the Chase Young pick makes it have to be at least a B, because they got an all-star no matter what. Yes, they didn't do a whole lot. They didn't earn that pick other than just being really bad last year. But at the end of the day, they still made the pick, so I still have to give them credit for getting a player like that. And yeah, no, I didn't like other moves that they made. I found certain things to be a little bit perplexing, but at the end of the day, I think they added talent to their team, and that's all you can ask for in any draft, and that's absolutely exactly what the Washington Redskins did here. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about the Washington Redskins draft. Am I too low on it? Am I hating too much on that Trent Williams trade? Am I too high on certain players that they took? Let me know what you guys think, and please check back for more videos soon. Peace out, guys.